Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya karo more Daya karo more Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya karo more Daya karo more Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Jai Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jai Girivardhari Jai Girivardhari Jai Girivardhari Jai Girivardhari Jashoda Nandana Brajjana Ranjana Jai Brajjana Ranjana Brajjana Ranjana Jai Brajjana Jashoda Nandana Brajjana Ranjana Brajjana Ranjana Jana Ranjana Jai Brajjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Kunja Bihari Jai Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Hadaya Namah Krishna Yadhavaya Namaha Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Hare Hadaya Namah Krishna Yadhavaya Namaha Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gauranga Gaura Hari Jai Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Gaura Hari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Rama Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Vishnupada Paramhamsa Puri Brajaga Acharya Shishamatsala Abhacharana Vina Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki ISKCON Pratishtata Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Kori Vaishnava Vrinda ki Shamaveta Gaur Bhakti Vrinda ki Guranta Srimad Bhagavatam ki Shri Radha Madhav ki Shri Nidai Gaushita Nath Pramanande Mandayam Shri Guru Shri Tapatakamulam Shri Guru Vaishnavangsha Sirupam Shagarajatam Shahagana Raganatam Tam Shajivam Sadaitam Savadutam Varijana Shaitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscham Mantra Guru Ajokta Shika Guru Ganta Chadane Gauriya Bandhan Vanchakapatu Vishtukapashan Vivajaparitanam Pavne Vaishnava Namo Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Pachani Nirabhishesha Shanavani Pashtata Deshtana Sima Bhagavatam the verse Is every day? Is yesterday verse? Today verse? Yeah.
Which is first canto, 5th chapter, 8th verse.
158. Okay. But we should bring the book.
Mic for
158. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Dharma Projita Kaitava Atra Paramanyanam Atsananam Satam Vedam Vaishnavat Lavashtu Shivaram Tapatray Unmalanam Shamad Bhagavatam Mahamune King Vaipara Ishra Saddharidi Avaruddhate Atra Kriti Bishu Shushvitakshanat Shamad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Yatha Dharma Dayascharta Munivaranukirtitaha Natata Vasudevasya Mahimahi Anubarnitaha Yatha Dharma Dayascharta Munivaranukirtitaha Natata Vasudevasya Mahimahi Anubarnitaha. Like to chant? Gurukulis. Yata, as much as Dharma Adayaha, all four principles of religious behavior. Cha and Artaha, purposes. Munivarya, by yourself, the great sage. Anukirtitaha, repeatedly described. Not tata, in that way. Vasudevasya, of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Mahima, glories. He, certainly. Anuvarnitaha, so constantly described. Although great sage, you have broadly described the four principles, beginning with religious performances. You have not described the glories of the Supreme Personality Godhead. Vasudeva, please repeat.
Although great
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. The prompt diagnosis of Sri Narad is at once declared. The root cause of the despondency of Vyasadeva was his deliberate avoidance of glorifying the Lord in his various editions of the Puranas. He has certainly, as a matter of course, given descriptions of the glories of the Lord Sri Krishna, but not as many as given to religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and salvation. These 4 items are by far inferior to engagement in devotional service to the Lord. Sri Vyasadeva, as the authorized scholar, knew very well this difference, and still, instead of giving more importance to the better type of engagement, namely devotional service to the Lord, he had more or less improperly used his valuable time. Thus he was despondent. From this it is clearly indicated that no one can be pleased substantially without being engaged in devotional service of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita this fact is clearly mentioned. After liberation, which is the last item in the line of performing religiosity, etc., one is engaged in pure devotional service. This is called the stage of self-realization, or the Brahmabhuta stage. After attainment of this Brahmabhuta stage, one is satisfied. But satisfaction is the beginning of transcendental bliss. One should progress by attaining neutrality, equality. One should progress by attaining neutrality and equality in the material world. And passing this stage of equanimity, one is fixed in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. This is the instruction of the Personality of Godhead in Bhagavad Gita. The conclusion is that in order to maintain the status quo of Brahmabhuta stage, as also to increase the degree of transcendental realization, Narad recommends to Vyasadeva that he, Vyasadeva, should now eagerly and repeatedly describe the path of devotional service. This would cure him from gross despondency. Srila Prabhupada ki. The four items are by far inferior to engagement in the devotional service of the Lord. Now, even in these times, that at best, when the people in general, at best, when they conceptualize spirituality or religion or spirituality, at best they'll come to this stage that of the 4 bhargas. At best, what to speak of thinking that and understanding that there's something beyond this that is by far superior. And here we have temple, Radha Madhav, temple, but people cannot see that this is far superior to other temples where devotional service is not, training in devotional service is not given. Although there is temple. And the Lord and His servants are respected and worshipped in those temples. But so that is good, but that's far inferior to the center wherein a devotional service is taught and people engaged in devotional service. We have to understand from the very beginning our movement. It is by far such a transcendental movement for these reasons. Not because we're members that it's the best. No, by logic and shastric siddhanta. Because but the common people, they have no idea. And they just see the external, the temple is all the temples are all good. We go to, but so this is the. Now Prabhupada, his preaching in India was not in the 1950s. His preaching in India was not successful. Same person who who for 10,000 years at least, he will be worshipped like this every morning. Even though we're not initiated by Prabhupada, and in subsequent generations, even now, we won't even have association of those great souls who were initiated by Srila Prabhupada. Last night, as His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami was leaving, and I went and I took the opportunity to fall at his lotus feet, because such souls are rare. They're rare souls. They're not just like ordinary devotees. We're ordinary devotees. We chant, we follow, we do preaching. But they're not ordinary devotees because they're associated with Prabhupada to begin with. That in itself is it's not a random thing. They're extraordinary. They were qualified already, such great souls. And we were seeing His Holiness do the arati in such a state of aged state, where the common people, a man of that age, does nothing. 99.9% of men in Mumbai are that age. They do nothing except eat and sit around and go to the bathroom, and that's it. I mean, that's not an exaggeration. They do nothing. They just sit and just what he's doing. I heard so many temple openings going. This is because of transcendental consciousness, but Prabhupada similar. Guru Vani, to the last breath, Guru Vani. This is a completely self-realized position. So such souls who were close to Srila Prabhupada, who had direct association with Srila, who were empowered by Srila Prabhupada, they're extremely rare. We have to take advantage of their association whilst we have it, because probably most of us in our lifetimes we will experience the unfortunate circumstance where there will be no more disciples of Prabhupada on the planet. Many of us will see that. Some of us won't, but many of us will see that. So therefore the onus is on us to carry on the same spirit and the same legacy. Actually, I was speaking about that yesterday, and we'll have class this evening. Those of you who are come to Juhu, we'll read that whole section of Chaitanya Charitamrita in detail. Yesterday, I just glanced at a couple of verses, and there were so many big mahants present that I was not able to really focus on the verses anyway. But that's such an important section. How the common people, they just come in, they just see Mahaprabhu, any common person on the street, and sees Mahaprabhu in that state, and he gets changed, and he becomes empowered, and he can't stop chanting. He goes back to his village, and the people see him, they become changed. The spirit of preaching. The spirit of preaching. I think Debakinandan Prabhu mentioned how Sitaram Prabhu has spirit of preaching. And this is their spirit, Prabhupada's spirit. You know that we opened a temple, and where yesterday we were so many, the two temples here, Hyderabad, Attapur, and Bhiwandi, in reasonable short period of time together, and we're astonished. Now, do you happen to know that in 1973, Srila Prabhupada opened 30 temples. That means every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks. And that's a preaching spirit. That's a preaching spirit. 30 temples in 1973. And many of those are big temples. Like big temples. With three sets of like you know. I mean, you see the three temples Prabhupada opened in India. Is Vrindavan, Juhu, and Hyderabad. We're very fortunate to be able to have access to those special places where Prabhupada is present. So the preaching spirit. Now in the 1950s, Prabhupada, he was not successful. The same person. It's not that going on to Jaladuta, going to the west, that Prabhupada all of a sudden changed. It's the same person. Same empowered person. We were in Puri, we were meditating on Prabhupada's disappearance, we were listening to them. How Prabhupada was empowered. I keep listening to that incident where in Kochi, I think it's Kochi or in Vrindavan, I don't know the place, Kashi or Koshi. It's on the Vrindavan Parikrama part. Koshi. So Prabhupada, he mentions how he heard one lecture. But that wasn't even a lecture, that was just a room discussion. It was a room that he was just speaking. Siddhanta Shastri Thakur. Prior to that, Ultadanga Road, on behalf of ISKCON Mayapur, ISKCON Calcutta, although many ISKCON Mayapur devotees here, we invite you, 20 February, 21st of February, you could do Sankirtan in Kolkata. Have you ever done Sankirtan in Kolkata, book distribution? In Kolkata, Prabhupada's. Anyway, you could do Sankirtan. That festival where Ultadanga Road, or Prabhupada first met Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So that festival will be there. So Prabhupada at that time, Prabhupada was a young man. I think he had either one or two children, maybe at least one, if not more. And he was into Gandhi's national movement. It's interesting, that Prabhupada, he's Nitya Siddha, but at that time he wasn't, he was a family man. And Gandhi, it's interesting. And his father was chanting japa. Prabhupada, I don't know if Prabhupada was chanting japa at that time. But his father was reading Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, worshipping the deity. And Prabhupada was already, you could say that normal life for him was Vaishnava life. They were prasadam, they were offering the bhoga to the deity. And Prabhupada's wife also was offering bhoga always. Although she didn't, he was initiated, Rupa Gaudiya Math in Prayag. His wife didn't come to the initiation ceremony. She was in Prayag. They were living there with 2 or 3 children. And Prabhupada's father was there, and Prabhupada's brother and nephews were there already in Prayag. So Prabhupada's brother and I think his sister came for the initiation. His wife didn't come. But Prabhupada says she was offering bhoga to the deities. She was pious, worshipping Vishnu. Lord. And then, so Prabhupada went, so he wasn't, it's not that he was even looking for spiritual, he wasn't really looking for that. He wasn't looking. It's not that Prabhupada was, seeking, where is my guru? Like many devotees, Srila Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj, he was looking for guru for a year till he found Prabhupada. Prabhupada, it doesn't describe he was looking for a guru. He was already elevated, so it had such those brief association of Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur had such a powerful effect on him. One meeting, one evening, he finished with the Gandhi commitment. One evening, it's all gone. That's a big change from being a Gandhian to just giving it all up. In one meeting, and hearing a few words of Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he immediately, the illusion of the value of that, it went away. But then Prabhupada, we don't hear that Prabhupada was going every day to Ultadanga Road and listening to the class. He didn't, but it had the effect on him. Prabhupada said he accepted Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur as his guru at that time. Had the effect on him. And then Prabhupada we assume he was taking the books. The Gaudiya Math were publishing books. The books of Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the books of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And Prabhupada was reading the books. But then it was 10 years later that Prabhupada again met with Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, 10 years later. And that also wasn't, it was an evening darshan. And hearing that, Prabhupada said, like curtains, he's describing that curtains were opened and he could understand who he was. You could say Prabhupada, we were talking about his life. It's due to association that he was in the family life, and it's just association. But when he got association of the Mahabhagavat and brief association, Satam Shri Radha Madhav, Shriman Mahaprabhu, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki, some brief association, Satam Prashanga Mama Virya Samveda Bhavanti Ritkana Rasayana Kota. Bhavanti Ritkana Rasayana, there was an awakening. Prabhupada says that when he was listening to that class in Koshi, he said that the curtains was like curtains opening and you could understand who he was. It was like Prabhupada was self-realized, hearing one class, self-realized. So quickly he came to such an elevated platform as association with Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Just a little bit of covering was there. And it was so quickly, by association with Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, so quickly removed. And Prabhupada became a preacher. He picked up the spirit of preaching. and he began preaching in English, writing for the harmonist. So Sri Thakur said, whatever Abhay Charan Arabinda Day, or Abhay Charan Arabinda Das, whatever he writes, publish it. And so he picked up the preaching spirit. And he was preaching, and then subsequently Prabhupada endeavoring, started Back to Godhead magazine, writing articles, etc., etc., and then beginning working on the Bhagavatam. But even Prabhupada had already begun working on Bhagavatam, translating this first canto in Vrindavan. But he wasn't having an impact in India in preaching. Same person who's empowered by Mahaprabhu, Shenapati Bhakta, who's come to deliver the holy name to the world. This Apurva Bapa. This never happened before. Even the great acharyas, they come. Even Mahaprabhu didn't do that. Sometimes I think that the British conquered India simply so that Prabhupada could learn English. That's the only reason they were able to. Because Krishna had a plan that Prabhupada would learn. I mean, Prabhupada learned aristocratic English. Scottish Church College. These men were, they were Bhadralok. Bideshi Bhadralok. They were aristocratic. They were learned in the classics, in the Greek, in the English poets, and they were religious. They were religious men. Prabhupada said they were moral. No drinking and women hunting, etc. That they were, Prabhupada. He actually that they were serving those Professor Urquhart, etc. They did service for humanity because they trained Prabhupada in English, in very eloquent, articulate English. And then the whole world is being delivered by Prabhupada's purports. But my initial point was, same person, but he was preaching in India, with the book distributing, Prabhupada, Sankirtan Jagya, himself, in Delhi, going and distributing it in tea stalls. When you go on Sankirtan, just think of that, Prabhupada, he was going out and carrying the books. Sometimes I comment that we've done many things in nothing substantial, but different things, not many things, different things in the Krishna consciousness movement since I joined this movement in 1985, and we've done different things. Even I was a pujari once, worshipping deities that Prabhupada installed, Melbourne Mahaprabhu Mandir. But I didn't last as a pujari. I had injured my leg, and so I couldn't go on Sankirtan. And I was doing, so they said, okay, do puja for a few weeks. So I have to admit, I don't have although we worship deity now in Grihastha life, but in the afternoon we were doing the Wake the Lord, and then again there's a little change of clothes in the afternoon, Radha Krishna, and I was in a temple room, and I'm doing that. No one's there, no one's there. I'm doing the puja, and it's like I'm reading the things. Okay, now to change the afternoon dress, and in my mind it said that afternoon dress. We have dress in the morning. What's wrong with the dress that we put on in the morning? Next day I was out of the deity room. Right? Next day I was out of the. I'm not really. You have to be elevated consciousness to be in. So Sankirtan. Like our Mahavishnu Swami, he was in Juhu, and he wanted to. So Prabhupada was there. He wanted to cook gulab jamuns. He had a desire to cook gulab jamuns. So he had to get the milk powder, so many things. He managed to, after much endeavor, he managed to cook the gulab jamuns. And then the next day they were offered to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, they were not very good at all. And then he asked, who made these? And Mahavishnu said, why is he not going on Sankirtan? From that time he was Sankirtan. The Sankirtan is the safe path, because the aparadi, the fallen, we can get delivered. Dino hinno jotto chilo hariname udharilo. There's chanting and distributing. Dino hinno jot. There's no limit to the degraded. You go on the Sankirtan, you do Sankirtan. Din jotto hariname udharilo. The holy name will deliver you. You chant it, what to speak of, you deliver it to others. So, but yeah, we would pujari. They tried a little bit at management. Actually, I remember Anirudh Prabhu, he was temple president. He said, you have to come to this meeting. I was trying to find excuses. And then Burijan Prabhu, he was there in Melbourne. He regularly came. So I went and I said, what can I do? Anirudh Prabhu says, I have to come to the meeting. He says, unless I give 5 reasons. It was like something you hear in the Mahabharata, you know. You have to give 5. You have to come up with 5 reasons why you should not attend. It's like a special task. You know? So I went to Burijan Prabhu. He helped me come up with 5 reasons. And then we did, of course, preaching in Bangladesh, that's a different thing. Anything you do there is special. But I often reflect that of all different services we've done, that standing on the street with Prabhupada's books, standing on the street with Prabhupada, that's the closest I ever feel to Prabhupada, the closest I've felt. Standing on the street with books. Then I felt closest of all the different services. Even I remember the first time we weren't doing book distribution, we were just collecting, and so we'd heard about book distribution coming to India. So we were desiring to do book distribution. I went, no one was training us, nothing. So I took books and I went on the street for 3 hours and I didn't distribute a book. But still I felt close to Prabhupada. Even though I just trying to distribute the books. So I felt connected to Prabhupada. And then later we were trained how to distribute the books, and we could distribute 20 books in a few hours, Bhagavad Gita's, hard books, So that was Prabhupada himself was distributing books. He would go in Delhi, Prabhupada was distributing. But yeah, so our point was that Prabhupada, same person, same mission, same knowledge, Jnana Samudra. Prabhupada is Jnana Samudra. So much knowledge. And we don't have to go searching here and there in the Theosophical Society or on the internet to find information about spirituality. It's all in Prabhupada's purports, and he actually has given just what we need. That's Prabhupada's great. That's enough. Prabhupada's books are enough. Look at this, Bhagavatam is here. So in 80s, when I joined the movement, then this is a standard, seems like a standard principle in ISKCON temples. You have the Bhagavatam, the full set, all the Prabhupada's books, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavatam. So when I joined in the 80s, we had in the back of the temple room the Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and a few other books, Science of Self-Realization, hardback. I think Lil Amrita was there. In fact, the BBT made the bookshelf, which was just the right size. I got the books and I got the bookshelf as well. And so it was actually a little easier then, because there was no option. We only could read Prabhupada's books. There was nothing else. A few books, a few devotees published books, okay, but not like now. Now everything's online and internet and everything, so in some ways it's become confusing. A little like the situation that Narad is here in, Vyasa is here, that a bit confusing. And the priorities were not highlighted. Priorities of Bhagavad Bhakti not highlighted. Everything became confusing. And actually this is such an important, it's chapter 5, it's such a powerful chapter. Read a couple of verses here. Jugupshitam dharma krite. The people in general, this is text 15, the people in general are inclined to enjoy. So we're coming to the point here why the same Senapati Bhakta, empowered, who came to this planet to spread the holy name all over the world, he was unable to make devotees in India. In the 50s and the 60s of preaching, but no disciples, no people to take up the mission. So this is explained in this chapter why that is, because the people they're spoiled, they've been miseducated in India. That's the problem. They're spoiled. But in the West, immediately Prabhupada went in and so many people. Whether or not they were in Bharat Bhumi before and then they were just planted in the West, in different countries, America, Australia. I sometimes, and Prabhupada said that also, Shri Thakur sent devotees to take birth in different places in the world. when I reflect on those devotees who were in the temple when I joined Prabhupada's disciples, they were so special people. Korma, Korma Prabhu. Korma Prabhu, you probably in the cookbooks. He joined when he was 16 years old. And he cooked for Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was taking prasadam, eating the puri. Prabhupada said, who cooked the puri? The servant said, Korma. I don't think he knew. And then Prabhupada commented, whoever cooked the puri is perfectly following the principles. Whoever cooked the puri, perfectly following the principles. And these special people that were planted in the different places in the world. I remember one Ekadasi. I was fortunate to be able to associate, to serve Korma, and it has an effect on you, on your development, their character, the way they are. It was Ekadasi, and it was Sunday. We were making Sunday feast, big feast, 500 people, Ekadasi. So, and Korma was there at 5:30. He'd come to the temple room with his clipboard. He'd have the menu on the clipboard, and he'd be there with an apron. And he'd come to the temple room and he would drag us out. We were chanting japa. He would drag us out to the kitchen. So then that Sunday, there was only 3 of us, Korma and one other brahmachari and myself. We cooked the whole thing. He didn't want, I think he was saying quality, not quantity, assistance. So anyway, I remember there was only the few of us there. And we were cooking all day. That boga was, we started at 5:30 a.m. The boga was offered at, I think, 4 p.m. And then there was kirtan, 4:30, Sunday feast. And I remember we were cooking all day, Ekadasi feast, and actually it was, I think it was Gorpanima. I can't remember. Maybe it was Gorpanima. It wasn't Ekadasi, it was Gorpanima. That's right. So that was also Ekadasi prasadam, but it was Gorpanima. The 3 of us cooked the whole feast. And then I still remember Korma Prabhu. There were these big silver plates, 3 of them. Big silver plates with a like a bowl upturned on top, so that maybe actually Melbourne Mahaprabhu, the puja is all based on Radha Rash Bihari Mandir. So probably all similar systems there. Big plate, 3 plates and the cover. in the 70s, Rash Bihari Mandir was the headquarters of ISKCON. Devotees from the West, they all came to learn puja. And I remember the temple president's wife in Melbourne, she came. She learned milk sweets from Juhu. So we joined and we were taking the prasadam. It was all Radha Rash Bihari Kripa, spread all over the world. The style, the cooking, the everything, the items, preparations, the ingredients, the milk sweets. Same Rasa Radha Rash Bihari Mandir standard. Prabhupada had it set all over the world. So in Melbourne we had that standard. 3 pujaris, 3 temples, 3 mandir, Mangaladi, 3 pujaris, everything. High standard. So we had these 3 plates, and each of us carried a plate. And then outside the deity room, and then there's like a bench, a shelf. You put the plate on, and then the pujari would come out and take the plate. So we put the plate. And I saw Korma Prabhu. After being in the kitchen all day, we were fasting. And working hard all day, cooking, cutting vegetables, cooking, fasting. And Korma Prabhu, he came and he put that plate. He gave to the pujari. The door opened. And he handed the plate to the pujari. He handed the plate to the pujari. You could kind of see, and he handed the plate. I was behind him with another plate. He handed the plate to pujari, and then he stood back, and then he fell on the ground. He's a big man. He fell down on the ground. Dandavat pranam. And I heard him pray, Gauranga, oh Gauranga, please accept this boga. Please accept this boga. So this is liberated soul. How liberated soul ends up in Melbourne, Australia, in the suburbs. How they were sent there. They were sent there to serve Prabhupada. And so many exalted devotees. So quickly, such people. So in the foreign countries, they took up the preaching mission. They took up the preaching spirit, and they gave up their life. They give everything. They give their life. Sometimes you hear they go to the place. There's no one there. There's nothing there. The devotee, he went to South Africa, Durban. There was nothing there. No one there. No one knew anything. Prabhupada said, you go there and start preaching Krishna consciousness. Nothing. You go, you arrive, you got nothing. Burijan Prabhu, he went to Hong Kong, nothing, no money. And they started preaching. In fact, Burijan Prabhu is in Hong Kong, and one day, one devotee knocks on the door. Mataji, she's from Melbourne also. He opens the door, yeah, and she says, "Oh, Hari, you're Burijan?" He says, "Yes." She says, "I'm Jagatarini, Mataji. Prabhupada sent me to marry you." Okay. And they're still married now, after 40 years. Jagatarini Mataji. Prabhupada sent me to marry you. These people, they don't care. Everything they give up for the order of Prabhupada. Everything in their life. Their families, they're wealthy. Giriraj Maharaj, wealthy, millionaire, father. He said, "I'll give you $1 million." You go, who cares about $1 million? That's a lot of money, Baba. $1 million. A lot of money in those days. We'd probably have to give me some time to think about it. Right? We would $1 million, or you stay in the temple, or you take $1 million. Shall we get off that topic? It's two. That's two people. It's two. $1 million? A crore? How many crore? Paisa? Huh? Yeah. Yeah. So such special people, such special devotees, and so so that's why in India, Prabhupada, the people were confused. They were see Krishna, see Ram, see Mahadev, see Ganapati. It's all confusing, and there's no spirit of surrender. Give up your life. Make this your last life. Make this your last life. Make this your last birth. No, that's not there. In Hinduism, it's not there. It's to make you comfortable, and at best, okay, you do some punya on this special day, give some charity, do this and that, you'll go to Svarga. That's as far as it goes. That's as far as it goes, at best. And even people don't do that now. That's even too much for people. Just try to understand the elevated society in which Shishachinandan appeared in Navadip Dham. Chatur dik hoite log Navadipe jai, Navadipe porile she biddarosh pai. From all over India, people would come to Navadip. Chatur dik hoite log Navadipe jai. They came to Navadip. Navadipe porile. Navadipe porile, if you study in Navadip, she biddarosh pai. Biddarosh. They get a taste. So Navadip, there were hundreds, there were thousands of Gangadas Pandit, he had thousands of students. Thousands of students. And there were thousands of such professors. Oddapak Shiromani, Gangadas Pandit, Oddapak Shiromani, Vyakaran Shastra Ekanta Tattabit. Extremely learned in the grammar. This is Navadip Dham. Even the materialists, the materialistic people, the envious people, the materialistic people, seeing the Vaishnavas chanting Hare Krishna, dancing, festivals of Krishna consciousness, the materialistic people who are envious of the they would make poetry. They would write poetry criticizing the Vaishnavas. Just see how elevated the society was. Nowadays, to the materialists, they write poetry criticizing ISKCON. They're just some slanderous, whatever they say. But they would just try to understand even the envious non-devotees were aristocratic, learned scholars of Shastra at the time of Mahaprabhu. So write poetry criticizing the Vaishnavas. And in order to just try to understand, in order to tarnish the reputation of Srila Srivas Thakur, there was one envious Brahmin, Gopal Chapal, and so he, in the middle of the night, he arranged the ingredients for worshipping Bhavani, and he put them in front of the door of Srivas Thakur. This like plantain leaf, this is the banana leaf, the red flour, and wine, and other ingredients for worshipping Bhavani. So he was. This is, in other words, what is considered even now worshipping Bhavani, and this is considered. This is elevated now. If somebody is worshipping Ma Durga, properly, regularly. This is a very religious person, very pious person with great respect in society now. Yes, is it not? So that's how that was how they were. The plan to tarnish the reputation, make him a Bhavani upashok. That's and then in the morning he opens the door and what would we do? We say, quick, get rid of this. Someone might see it quick before anyone comes on the street. He sees it. He calls all the respectable Brahmins of Navadip. Just see my character. You're showing me so much respect, but just see. He's broadcasting. His fault, even though it wasn't his fault. That's like Srila Pundarik Vidyanidhi Mahodaya. Bishai Prai, Tar Porichet Shob Chintana Parikehu Shaito Vaishnav. Bishai Prai, Tar Porichet Shob. He, Pundarik Vidyanidhi, he would Bishai Prai. He would appear like a materialist. Long hair, scented with fragrant oils. He had chandan and decorated. He would sit on his opulent couch with luxurious pillows and satin and silk covers, and there was a spittoon there for him to chewing his pan, reddish lips, and he had a mirror. He had a mirror, a big mirror, okay, just to look at himself occasionally. This is his appearance. And Gaurata Pandit, he came and he thought, Mukunda Dutt has brought me to see this Vaishnava, and look, what sort of a Vaishnava is this? This person is accustomed to comfortable life. He was Jomidar, wealthy, followers, many assistants were there, accustomed to comfortable life. So he was, and we're thinking, but actually he was role playing. He would dress like that, he would behave like that because he didn't want people to respect him. Bishai Prai Taporishet Chob. He would present himself as a materialist. Chintana Parikehu Shaito Vaishnav, because he didn't want anyone to consider him a Vaishnava and show him respect. He is Pundarik Vidyanidhi. He is Vrishabhanu Maharaj, the father of Sri Radhika, Ragatmika Bhakta. So similarly, so this is the mood. I don't want to. We're the opposite. Inside is all black and full of material desire, but externally we dress Vaishnava, Chilak, everything. We show, but inside is all opposite. But we show great Vaishnava. Pundarik Vidyanidhi, inside all pure, outside no, I'm a normal person. So Srivas Thakur, he sees all of this paraphernalia for worshipping Bhavani, and he immediately calls all of the respectable Brahmins. Just see, you think you're offering me respect, you have such a appreciation, just see my behavior at night worshipping. And all of those Brahmins immediately, they knew exactly, and they begged forgiveness, they called the sweeper too. So what to do? This is I was reading text 15, purport, translation. The people in general are naturally inclined to enjoy, and you have encouraged them in that way. In the name of religion, you've encouraged them. They want enjoyment in this world. They want prosperity. They want happiness. They want solution to their problems in this world. And that's popular, we could say. That's popular. The people will come if you offer that product. I stumbled across a website one time. It was the South Indian Mott, and there maybe even some long tradition there. And on the website you could see, our staff, our priests, and they had pictures of them, all healthy-looking fellows. Big healthy looking fellows, and earrings and beards and tilak, and they said our Brahmins are coming from very, very long tradition. And then on the website is all the links. What do you want? A good wife, prosperity, vanquish your enemies, overcome disease. Just click on the link. and then the credit card, put in your details, debit card also accepted. So this is popular, actually, popular. If you're advertising the temple, a big sign, we will help you vanquish your enemies, we will help you get prosperity, income increased, overcome disease, find a husband or wives for your sons or daughters, all of these things that you have problems with. You come to the temple, you can get solution. The temple will be very, very, very crowded. Very crowded. But we're not advertising that. We're coming here and we're saying, come to the temple and revive your eternal nature as Krishna's servant. And you can act as Krishna's servant in the temple, you can serve Krishna, and we can train you how to fully. It's not so popular. Because people are in ignorance. And even here, Narad is chastising Vyas that you had responsibility, you had facility to deliver them, to enlighten them. You did not take full advantage of that opportunity. You've compromised because you've allowed them a little bit of what they shouldn't take at all, but you've allowed it in a regular way. Allowed it in a regular way. Okay, you don't be like an animal, but you do regular. You worship demigods and you can enjoy in this legal way. So this is the chastisement that Narad is giving to Vyas, that it appears like they're making progress. It appears like they're religious, but it's not actually uprooting the fundamental obstacle. You're allowing them to remain attached to the misconception that I am the enjoyer. I am the enjoyer, and it's meant for my position, for improving my circumstances. This is why we come to this world. Eventually we have to come to the point of understanding that Jnanavan mam prapadyante, that this is illusion. I am not the enjoyer. Jnanavan mam prapadyate, you get that, I'm not the enjoyer. So that requires potency to awaken. I'm not the enjoyer. I'm Nitya Krishna Das. So Srimad Bhagavatam. Kalo nasta drishamesha puranak adun. It's like the Puran ako adun udito adun unito uditoho adun uditoho puranako. It's like the sun. Srimad Bhagavatam is like the sun. So you have to be very, very determined to remain in darkness once the sun has risen. But if you want to be illumined and come into the Jyoti Gama, if you want that, Srimad Bhagavatam, very easy to do that. It's like the sun. And therefore, distribution of Srimad Bhagavatam is the only way that actually you can deal with the predicament. And so we see that since we have systematically, see our great acharyas, last night we were fortunate to take the association of Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, such an exalted person. Why? Because so intelligently, strategically fulfilling Srila Prabhupada's desire. That's why he's so exalted. Because he's so intelligently and so focused on what is Prabhupada's desire and how to, in an organized way, fulfill that. So such people are receiving such mercy of Prabhupada. It's not just, we're not just randomly, it's very organized. It's gone very organized. And that's why we all come together as one society. That's also something unprecedented. Traditionally, Vaishnava, Guru, give mantra. When he leaves, his disciples, they can give mantra. And in this way, different sampradayas, different lineage. But there's no coordination. So therefore, preaching, it's not a few people. But when we come together, we coordinate. Like a general. Gopal Krishna, like a general on the field, who's responsible for so many divisions in the war against Maya. So because Prabhupada's trained these men to, in an organized way, systematically, we're staying in the room, I saw all the books books. Go down. Books are published. The books. It's not just Swami sitting under the tree speaking Bhagavatam. Okay, a few people, but you organize. We're publishing books. Books are ordered. Books are new editions. Books are stored. We have a van. We have the bus. We go to the places. Organize. We have a program. Ishan Gaur Prabhu was describing to me the marathon, a program, marathon. Hyderabad. Take prasadam, 10 o'clock, and then go different places, go to all day, come back 4 o'clock, take prasadam, a little rest, go again in the evening. Yeah? This is brahmachari life. You arrange your life. Eating, sleeping, bathing, everything is arranged around the objective of let me become an instrument of distributor of Srimad Bhagavatam. You arrange your life around that. In an organized way. Organized. It's not that you're left on your own, you do your best. No, you just fit into the machinery. Whether you're driving the bus, whether you're cooking, you're all part of it's like an army. There's only necessarily one man there with the gun, but so many people behind him providing the artillery, ammunition, getting him there. Comes back where he's got to be fed. So everybody, they're all victorious. The soldiers come back and they're all given the hero's welcome, whether you're the cook or... So therefore we see, because we've organized, intelligent, great devotees have given their life to organizing, systematically fulfilling Prabhupada's vision. We see preaching in India now is so wonderful. Expansion of the Bhagavatam. People are taking the Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada naturally is very, very pleased with... he was unable to make progress and make success, headway in India, and now India leading the world in our preaching. So actually, you're all very fortunate. Just like one time the devotees were in Vrindavan, and the priest, the pujari, Vaishnav, Brajavasi, he asked them, which one you like? The deities, which one you like? Which one you like? And then he said, I like the one on the end here, or something. Some sort of unexpected type of a comment. And then he said that if you keep chanting Hare Krishna, next birth you'll be fortunate, you'll be born in Vrindavan, you can be a pujari in the temple. So the devotees, the disciples, they went back, they told Prabhupada that this pujari said that. You chant next birth, you keep chanting Hare Krishna like this now, you're foreigners, you chant Hare Krishna. Next birth you'll be born in Bharat, Brajavasi, you become pujari in a temple, you go back to Godhead. And Prabhupada said, you go back and you tell him that you keep worshipping the deities in Vrindavan very nicely. Next birth you'll take birth in the Western countries, and you can join the International Society for Krishna Consciousness and preach Krishna consciousness. So now we can say that even be fortunate to take birth in Mumbai. You take birth in Mumbai so that you can join the Sankirtan movement and distribute Srimad Bhagavatam on the streets of India. That's the best place to be. Grantat Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Is there any question today? Yeah.
In the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions that Vyasa deliberately did not touch upon the nectarian topic of Lord, as that he was not feeling so good. So I want to understand why was Srila Prabhupada
Is deliberately? Where does it say deliberately?
Starting 3-4 lines.
He has certainly, as a matter of course, given descriptions to the glories of Lord Krishna, but not as many as to religion. These 4 items are far inferior engagement in the devotional service of the Lord. That was the line we began with. That the people that they don't understand what is Vishnu Bhakti, they don't understand what is Krishna consciousness, they don't understand what is chanting the holy name. They think it's just like all of the other pious things we do to get better happiness in this world. So therefore book distribution, the people have to be educated. And this Bhagavatam, look, and it's 12 cantos. There's 12 cantos. Look, there's 12 cantos. And this is just the beginning. This is just the first few chapters. It's so powerful. It's so hard-hitting. Bhagavatam from the very beginning is so enlightening, so awakening. But he doesn't say deliberate. Okay. he had more or less improperly used his valuable time. It doesn't say deliberate. It doesn't say deliberate. It's not. He didn't understand. He needed a guru. Yeah, you show me. And the example of this is that even such a exalted soul like Vyas Muni, who is Shakta Avesh Avatar, he is incarnation. He's a category of incarnation, Vyas Muni. Still, he needs a guru to correct. To correct. A guru means one who will correct you. Oh, last night I was able to see such a moment of transcendental mercy and education. That devotee came and his wife was there. I don't know if I assume Maharaj's disciple. And then that Mataji, she had been there all day. Is she here now? She's here. She's not here. So he'd been there all day. And then His Holiness, he asked, is she chanting Hare Krishna? He asked, is she chanting Hare Krishna? Is his wife, his initiated disciple. And then this is my wife, and he says, oh, is she chanting Hare Krishna? And she says, but she's not wearing tilak. Couldn't see tilak. Couldn't see the tilak. So just see how important it is. You can carry a little piece with you. And in the afternoon, the idea being that there's so many hours that you put tilak, a devotee would be taking bath. That's the idea, that when the tilak is fading, that means it's time to take bath. At least twice a day. Sankirtan devotees, maybe not necessary. At night time you can take bath, but not necessary at Sankirtan. You take bath once enough. But other devotees, householders, 3 times. Householders are meant to take bath in the middle of the day, actually, it says in Puranas. No one does that, not many. So, okay, she cannot take bath here, a program here all day, but you have a little bit of tilak in your pocket, in your bag, you can just put tilak on fresh in the afternoon. So important. Maharaj thought she was not a devotee. She thought she was not a devotee. So therefore, you're wearing tilak, what an effect that has on the people. Wearing tilak, what effect that has on people. It has a great effect on people. They remember Krishna when they see tilak. So anyway, that was just came to mind now that about that. But
the first line, it says the root cause of the despondency of Vyasdev was his deliberate avoidance.
yeah, okay. Where is it? 4th line. Well, deliberate. You see, deliberate is a word that has different meanings. And you can go and look in the dictionary here. It doesn't mean that he's knowingly doing it in this case. You're thinking deliberate means knowingly doing it and intentionally doing it. But the deliberate doesn't mean that. Here, deliberate means it means attentive effort. Deliberate means that he has the objective to do this. Does it say deliberate avoidance? Deliberate avoidance. Deliberate means deliberation. It means that, anyway, you could say that he's deliberately trying to present the 4 Chatur Bharga. He's doing that. That's deliberate. He's deliberately trying to summarize the essence of the Vedanta, of the Vedas, which previously were in Shruti mantra. He wants to put that he's deliberately putting that into an accessible form for the Kali Yuga. So in that effort, he mistakenly undermined the glorification of Krishna. But it was deliberate. His deliberate was to summarize all of the Vedas and put them in literary form. That's his deliberate effort. Anything else today? Yes? Bhava Mai Nityananda. What?
What do you mean with Brahma Buddha stage?
What does it mean? What does it mean? Well, you have achieved. And similarly, even having achieved, you're uttam, you're thinking yourself not on that platform. This is Brahma Buddha. What else is there in your life except the lotus seat of Sisi Radha Madhav? That's Brahmabhuta. That's Brahmabhuta. Brahmachari is Brahmabhuta. The spiritual life. You've given up, minimized, not completely, a little bit, but it's all become spiritual. Your eating is prasadam. What else you're eating? That's Brahmabhuta. Where is the materialism? There's nothing separate. You carry on that way. That's Brahmabhuta. Okay? Hare Krishna. Thank you. I'm so happy to be able to sit here, although this seat I'm not worthy of sitting on such an elaborate and ornate speaker's vyasasana. I apologize for my shamelessness, but I feel honored and I'm so happy to be able to sit here, which was previously just a Tamagun suburb of Bhiwandi, and now has become an embassy of spiritual worlds. And so many people here where Krishna consciousness will be awakened. As Maharaj said, temple is for preaching. And the doors are open. People walk in, and we can facilitate their awakening in their eternal constitutional position as Krishna's servant. And therefore I offer my obeisances to all the exalted sevaks here who have served and sacrificed so much to make this happen. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.